Hey guys, welcome to Girls Frontline 2. So we're going back to our basics and fundamentals for team building. I know it's actually easy just to, slap on a couple of, dolls in a team and do some autoplay and, let them be. But it's at some point we are obliged to do manual because some of the content we cannot clear on auto because we missed some of the objectives. Some are very hard that we need to manual it. So with this video, it gives you more detail on what goes on, specifically whether you do a manual or you do an auto clear of a stage. Okay, we're gonna be discussing 5. First is going to be team composition. So the basic of team composition is going to be 2 DPS. One is going to be your primary DPS. One is your secondary DPS or sub DPS. And the third one is your support. Your support is gonna be either having heals and buffs and assist. Some of them would have buff, regen, heal, and stability. A lot will be going on for your support, so choose wisely who you're going to be bringing. Some have barriers like Sumi. So more or less you have to decide on what support you're going to be bringing. Who are you going to be specializing in, especially if you don't have Sumi. So your support is going to be your all-around, fixer-upper, your healer, your buffer, your debuffer. So that is going to be the role of your support. So those are the base. The fourth slot is going to be either another DPS, so a DPS specialist. One of the examples is going to be Nemesis. So I'd like to slot in Nemesis on the fourth slot as a DPS support because number one, she does a very good shot at far away or with long range, and you don't really need to. You don't really need to have her move around. So in some cases, I'd like to have her. Plus, she has support as well, so she can do attack support with one of your main DPS. So I'd like to run it sometimes. Another would be another support. So you'll have 2 primary DPS, like for example QJ and Tololo. Then you'll have 2 supports, like for example Sumi. And the other one could be, let's say, Ksenia. Okay? Or the other one could be Cheetah. So depending on you, on your need, on your goal on to clear a stage, especially for the harder bosses, you'll be needing 2 supports. I actually did that the last time I was on stream. So definitely 2 DPS and 2 support. The other one, we'll go back to the usual default, which is 2 DPS and 1 support, but the fourth one will be a defensive specialist. So Groza, her play is more on counter-attack, so you can actually use Groza as your escort for some of your DPS who are going forwards. So as your enemies go towards you, Groza will take care of them for the counter-attack. Again, she is there for defense and for more or less trying to have a counter punch for those enemies who want to flank you. Okay, and probably the last fourth slot that you could add is going to be for utility. So if you want more AoE, if you want more knockbacks, you can slot some of these dolls here that could help you push around or manipulate the area wherein you could have other enemies fall down or fall over or go over a cliff or whatever. Lota can actually slot in that 4th slot. So again, you have either a DPS specialist, another DPS, another support, or a defensive specialist or a utility specialist. So those are your basic team compositions, arrangements. Sometimes we do have a 5th slot. So the 5th slot is really a bonus. Either you could play with that however you want, but mostly our teams are going to be 4 when we play. Okay, so that is the first one, team composition. We'll be going to the second one, which is in element interaction. So basic element interaction that I will have an example for you guys is Krolik's passive. So this one applies overburn at the end. Applies overburn to the closest two enemy targets within 7 tiles for 2 turns. This usually happens before she ends her turn. So overburn is going to be gaining the effect at the end of the turn. This unit and all the allies within 1 tile receive fixed damage. So it's similar to damage over time, but overburn, once your enemies have overburn, some of the burn team can do a attack support, specifically for Sharky. Sharkery. So Sharkery has that in her neural helix. So this is it. Thermal feedback. So when an enemy target is within range, is affected of overburn, perform instance of Y support. So Y support is going to be performs a support attack, dealing physical damage equal to 80% of all of attack and 2 points of stability damage. This can be triggered up to 3 times per turn. So this one is going to be needing elemental synergy or elemental interactions with other members. So also be wary of that. And sometimes these do require manual because of the sequence. She cannot activate this without overburn the field. Definitely, she will come after Krolik makes her move. She will come first, position herself, then Krolik makes a move, puts overburn, then when she sees it, she can do a support attack. So, again, the elemental interactions of your team, you should know who is going to go first, what are they capable of, and properly plan your manual play. Okay, this as well will fully maximize your team's synergy. It doesn't mean that you have to have elemental interactions always within your team, but it would really help if you know what they're doing and how to take advantage of those elemental interactions. Okay, understand combinations and their limits, and obviously we do have specific team builds for burn, for freeze. We'll go into that in a separate video. Now it's just giving you guys an eye into, you probably don't know how to trigger some of these elemental interactions. So please make sure that you take a look at the description of the skill and also the sequence wherein you play your dolls in a mission. Okay, that is the second one. Third one is it's actually very simple, because sometimes we do fail to check the skills much on the detail, the sequence, and how or what it means. So check your skills, fortifications, and neural helix. So for skills, you have to check what do they do. It usually opens up as you get the dolls, but during your fortification, obviously you need to get copies of them. For Groza, I have her up until V6, so I've opened most of her additional skills or effects, so it's not going to be a problem. Also, for your neural helix, when you choose a node, make sure that the node that you choose, you understand that it's going to trigger something or it's just an effect. So it's really important that you do that, and also make sure that they're installed here in the key regulation. So for those nodes, or for those keys that you didn't you didn't put here, include in this area here, then you won't be able to use them. Out of the 6, we only get to use 3. So take note, you won't be able to use all of them. So please make sure that you get the best node depending on what interests you. Again, there is a guide for this. I'm gonna be doing specific guides for each of the dolls, but we're gonna start with the basics first to understand how these effects are going to be played or how these effects are going to take over. Okay, so that is the one for the skills in the fortification. The next one would be strategy, placement. This is the fourth one: strategy, placement, and sequence. Depending on the game mode, usually we do auto, right? It's usually up to the AI to do it. But on manual, especially if your team triggers a lot of effects, strategy, especially placement, and especially sequence is going to be key, because some effects don't trigger if some conditions aren't met. So take note that your placement, your strategy, and your sequence is part of the game. Sometimes the AI misses this. Sometimes the AI just muscles its way in to a battle, triggering whatever effects that it can trigger. But definitely it misses some or most of these effects. We usually clear stages because we just overpower the enemy. That's it. Overpower it with this one, our the overall power of each doll. So it's better that you understand how these things take place rather than just slap them on and have them on auto, because eventually when you do manual, you'll be asking yourself on how you're going to maximize every run using manual, especially for a boss that is really, really hard to kill, the one that regens or for example, or has healing every turn. Again, it's gonna be a headache. So the more you get to know the dolls that you're bringing or the ones that you have, the more you are able to put together your own team that you could clear the enemy with. There have been a lot of questions I've seen on Reddit how to clear some of the stages. It's because, again, you're gonna have to understand all placements, element interactions, upgrades, composition, and our last is going to be weapon attachments and weapon attachments, equipped, and priority. So definitely, if you, let's say for example, I do have this is the last one, this is the fifth one. So I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 of them are actually using an AR. Okay, so ARs are equipped. Definitely, you will need to prioritize who uses which depending on what they're doing. Some of them have recommended guns, like for example for QJ, Golden Melody, which recommended on her. I'm using what do you call this? I'm using Planeta on Tololo, and I'm using Planeta as well for Groza. The only reason is because if eventually I don't give this to Groza, I could use it to upgrade copies of Tololo's gun. So that is why she has that. So again, prioritize guns, who is using which, and in terms of like for example, again, prioritize a gun. Guns, if you can see, have their effects. They have their own effects depending on the type. So this one is an SMG. So this one is actually okay or good for Sumi because it's Sumi, the name of the character. But definitely, this one won't really won't be any good to other what do you call this, other dolls, especially if they don't have a shield. They don't create a shield. So take note that you have to rearrange your guns, who will bring which. And also, if you take a look at their attachments, please make sure that you have the right attachments for them. Right now I have an incomplete set, but definitely this set is for Sumi. So Ultimate Pursuit, 3 items. I don't have one, so I have to farm for this for me to complete this set, at least a purple one which has Ultimate Pursuit. So increase the damage, healing, shield effects, and ultimate skill. So again, these things play all together in your team building. These are the fundamentals. if you know most of them, I'm sure some of them you do have to read up and fine tune on how to maximize your characters, because each and every one of these practices will take you further in clearing stages. And honestly, the game is about discipline. If you don't have autoplay for this game and everybody would be doing manual, definitely everybody would be stricter on on using these things like team comp. Elemental interactions are actually very good. Sometimes you don't really need it sometimes, but the elemental interactions are actually part of the game, and they do play their part in some of the stages, but not all of them, I tell you. But it's good that you understand them, and the upgrades as well. Make sure that you choose the right upgrade. Placement, sequence, especially during battle, is actually very important. And again, lastly, your weapon and attachments should be where they should be. So read what each gun can do, and also check out your attachments if they have the same set and if they match the abilities of your doll that you're equipped with. Okay, so that's it. Has been a long video. Again, comment down in the comment section what do you think of the fundamentals. I know it's easy to do auto and just to leave it be, but sometimes you cannot muscle your way through clearing objectives and clearing very, very hard bosses. So again, guys, thank you very much for staying this far. Take care, stay safe. This is the Warden, and I'm out of here.